Have you ever wondered what happens in motel rooms when the doors are locked and the clerk has the master key? What I'm about to tell you will make you think twice before staying at a roadside motel. This story comes from a woman who barely escaped with her life. Sarah was driving cross-country when a massive storm and highway accident put her 5 hours behind schedule. By midnight, exhaustion hit hard. She was on a back road where towns are 30 miles apart and everything closes at sunset. That's when she saw it. A small strip motel with a flickering neon sign. Vacancy. The paint was peeling. The parking lot cracked. But Sarah desperately needed rest. Something felt wrong the moment she pulled in. The question that would save her life was simple. Why did this place feel so abandoned when the sign said it was open? A greasy-haired man appeared behind a small office window, immediately locking eyes on her. "You traveling alone?" he asked, his voice too interested. Red flags exploded in Sarah's mind, but exhaustion won. He insisted on cash only, no credit cards. He slid a physical metal key across the counter. Room 7. The room reeked of mildew and cigarettes, stained carpet, unwashed bedspread, rust in the sink. Sarah sat on the bed, and reality hit her. This place felt dangerous. She thought about the clerk's questions, the cash-only policy, the isolation. She made a decision that saved her life. She'd sleep in her car. She locked every door twice, and eventually fell asleep. Sarah woke around 2 or 3 a.m. to pure instinct, screaming danger. In the dim parking lot light, she watched the motel clerk walk to room 7, her room, holding the master key. Her heart stopped as he unlocked the door and stepped inside. Moments later, he reappeared with another man she hadn't seen before, taller, broader. They stood in her empty doorway, looking inside, talking. Then they both looked toward her car. Sarah's hands shook as she turned the ignition, praying it would start. It did. Both men's heads snapped toward her. She peeled out so fast, her tires screeched. In her rearview mirror, they were running toward where her car had been. Sarah drove 2 hours straight to a well-lit truck stop. Her uncle, a retired cop, insisted she file a report. What police discovered made her blood run cold. That motel was supposed to be permanently closed. It had been shut down 3 years earlier, after code violations and a suspicious disappearance. The property was condemned, yet someone was operating it, using it to lure vulnerable travelers. Police never found the men. Sarah still thinks about what would have happened if exhaustion had won, if she'd stayed in that room, if she hadn't woken up when she did. When a hotel calls your room at midnight to warn you about break-ins, you'd feel grateful, right? You'd lock your door and go back to sleep. But what if that warning wasn't meant to protect you? What if it was meant to test you? Mark was a sales rep who'd stayed in hundreds of hotels. He knew the routine. This trip took him to a small Missouri town where everything closed by 8 p.m. The Pinewood Inn had decent reviews and was affordable. He checked in at 6 p.m. and was in bed by 11. Just another night on the road. At exactly midnight, the room phone rang. That phone call would reveal something terrifying about the Pinewood Inn. Mark fumbled for the phone in the dark. "Good evening, sir. This is the front desk," a woman's voice said urgently. "We've been receiving reports about rooms being broken into tonight. We're calling to remind everyone to lock their doors and use the security chain." Mark sat up, suddenly alert. "Oh, okay, thanks. Are you locked in safely, sir?" she asked. Mark walked to the door, deadbolt locked, chain not engaged. He slid it into place. "Yeah, I'm good now. Door's locked, chain is on." "Very good, sir. Have a good night." Click. Mark couldn't sleep easily. After that, then maybe 20 minutes later, there was a sound at his door, someone trying the door handle. Mark lay completely still. The handle turned again, forcefully. Someone was trying to get in, but the door was locked. The chain was on. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Mark called the front desk. A man's voice answered, not the woman from before. "Front desk. Someone just tried to get into my room. Room 214. A pause. "What do you mean?" "Someone was at my door, turning the handle, trying to open it, just now." Another pause. "Sir, are you sure? We haven't had any reports of break-ins tonight." Mark's stomach dropped. "What? No. A woman from the front desk called me an hour ago and warned me about break-ins. Sir, I'm the only one at the front desk tonight. I've been here since 10 p.m. I didn't call your room, and there have been no break-in reports. The room felt ice cold. Mark demanded they check security cameras. The clerk was dismissive until Mark threatened to call police. The footage made them both sick. At 12:05 a.m., 5 minutes after the call, a man appeared in the hallway, walked to room 214, and waited. At 12:12 a.m., he tried the door handle twice, then left. Police pulled phone records. The call to room 214 hadn't come from the front desk. It came from room 108, an unoccupied room on the first floor. When they checked room 108, the door was unlocked. Inside, a prepaid cell phone, rope, duct tape, and a knife. The person was gone. Police explained their theory. Someone watched Mark check in, called pretending to be the front desk to get him to verbally confirm his door wasn't properly secured. If the chain wasn't on, they'd know the only barrier was a lock they could bypass. Mark checked out immediately and drove through the night. He never answers room phones anymore, no matter how many times they ring. There are some rooms that have a reputation. Staff avoid assigning them. Maintenance always finds something wrong. But what happens when you're given one of those rooms and you don't know its history? This is the story of room 12 at the Desert Rose Motel. Jessica was driving from California to Texas for a new job. On the second night, she found herself in a small Arizona desert town at sunset. She pulled into the Desert Rose Motel, maybe 15 rooms arranged in an L shape. The office clerk, a woman in her 60s, barely looked up. When she reached for a key, her hand hovered before selecting one, room 12. Jessica noticed the woman hesitate for just a second, her expression flickering with something, concern, reluctance. Jessica took the key and left, but she should have asked why the woman hesitated. Room 12 was at the far end, dated, but clean enough. Jessica grabbed food from a nearby store. When she returned 20 minutes later, the bathroom light was on. She was certain she'd turned it off. She checked the room, empty, nothing out of place. Maybe I just forgot, she told herself. Around 10 p.m., she got into bed. That's when she heard it. Water running. In the bathroom, the sink faucet was running full blast. She hadn't turned it on. She'd been in bed for 15 minutes. She turned it off, hands shaking. Old plumbing, she rationalized. An hour later, the bathroom door, which she'd left open, slowly creaked closed. Jessica sat up fast. No draft, no open windows, no AC vent. She opened the door, empty. But this time she noticed something. On the mirror, in the condensation from her earlier shower, there were smudges, like letters, S-T-A-Y. Jessica grabbed everything and ran to the office, in her sleep clothes. I need a different room. There's something wrong with room 12. The woman's expression changed to resignation. What happened? Jessica told her everything. The woman sighed. I should have given you a different room. A few years back, a woman died in room 12. Overdose. They didn't find her for 3 days. Ever since, guests complain about strange things. Lights turning on, water running, doors moving. We've had priests come, cleaners quit. Nothing helps. And you still rent it out? Jessica asked, horrified. It's a business. Most nights, nothing happens. But some nights, the woman offered room 4. Jessica took it, but didn't sleep. She left at dawn. Later she looked up reviews online. Others mentioned room 12, lights, faucets, being watched. One review made her stomach turn. Woke up to a message on the bathroom mirror. It said stay. I didn't. What would you do if you saw someone standing in a motel parking lot at 3 a.m., not moving, just watching your room? This is the story of David, a truck driver who made a decision that probably saved his life. David was a 15-year veteran truck driver. He'd seen it all: bed bugs, sketchy neighborhoods, questionable motels, but he'd never felt truly unsafe. Not until the Sunrise Motel. It was late October, hauling from Oklahoma to Tennessee. After 10 hours, he needed rest. The Sunrise Motel was a 2-story place where you could see your vehicle from your window. David liked that. He paid cash, got room 24, on the second floor, and was asleep by 10:30 p.m. At 3:17 a.m., something woke him. No sound, no movement, just sudden awareness that something was wrong. When he looked out his window, he understood why. Standing in the parking lot, facing his truck and room, was a man, dark clothes, hood up, just standing there, looking up at him. David ducked away from the window, heart hammering. He peeked again. The man hadn't moved. Same position. Now David could see something in his hand, something long, a crowbar, a pipe. David called the front desk. The young clerk answered, annoyed. David explained, "There's a man in the parking lot, staring at my room. He's holding something." The clerk said he'd check. David watched the clerk step outside, look around. The man in the parking lot slowly turned his head and waved, a slow, deliberate wave. The clerk froze, then quickly went back inside. David's phone rang. "Yeah, so, there is a guy out there. I don't know who he is. He's not a guest. So what are you going to do? I think you should call the police. I don't feel comfortable confronting him." The call ended. David immediately dialed 911. He kept watching. The man hadn't moved. 5 minutes. 7. Then the man started walking, not away, toward the building, toward the stairs, toward David's room. David grabbed his keys and moved. He unlocked his door quietly and peered out. Empty hallway, footsteps on the stairs, slow, deliberate. He went the opposite direction to the far stairwell and ran to his truck. He locked the doors and started the engine. As he pulled out, he looked back. Standing on the second floor walkway, right in front of room 24, was the man, trying the door handle. Police arrived 3 minutes later at a gas station where David waited. They went back together. The man was gone. They found scratches around the door lock in room 24. On the walkway, they found a crowbar. The man was never identified. Without a completed crime, there wasn't much police could do. David refuses independent motels now, but sometimes, late at night, on dark highways, he thinks about that man, about his patience, about what would have happened if David had stayed in that room.